Welcome to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. We talk about all things Star Wars. My name is James, and I have my good friend over here who's joined me on episodes that you might have heard. Go ahead and say your name.
Hey guys, my name is Rudy.
And that's my dog. That's not his dog, that's my dog. But whenever he's here, she's all about him, not about me. And so she's going to be joining us today. Hopefully she behaves herself. But anyways, thank you all for listening to our Monday episode that we've done. We released an episode talking about why there's so much hate for the Rise of Skywalker. And funny enough, we just got done watching it.
Yeah, we just got done watching it again. I think it was, your fourth time?
Yeah, this one was my fourth time watching it.
And this one was my second time. Now, me personally, I don't like watching movies more than one time in the movie theater. I always watch it once, and I'll wait a little bit and get it when it comes out on digital or DVD. Mm-hmm. Unless I really like the movie, then I'll go back and watch it. I watched this again, not only because it was a chance for us to hang out, but also because there's so much into this movie and I don't think people understand the scope of information that's in this movie. That you have to go back multiple times just to understand some of the things. And I picked up things this time that I had no idea the last time.
So okay, let's go. Let's jump into that. So what's one thing you picked up this time that wasn't there the first time you watched it?
So the first thing that comes to my mind is when Rey force heals Kylo Ren on the Death Star.
Okay.
And you see his wound heal, but then when he sits up and starts, you can see his eyes watering, but you notice that his scar's missing.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that the first time I watched it. And to me, that was kind of, like Harrison Ford said, no, you're not dead. Kylo Ren is dead.
Yeah, that was a good visual representation to show like he was now fully, the Kylo Ren was gone.
Yeah.
And, because I remember because we talked about it, and I think David's wife is the one who pointed it out to us because we didn't catch it. None of us did. But I remember with that scene where he's talking to his dad, I was just like, he looks so different. Like he just looks completely different now, like a new person. He looked so vulnerable. And then when I found that out, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so obvious.
Yeah, I see it now, and I'm just like, wow.
Like, why did I not notice that the first time I watched it? But yeah, it was. I love that little touch they did for the movie. What was another thing that you noticed?
So I just started picking up on just little things in the movie, just kind of paying tribute to the older movies and how it kind of just meshed everything together. And for me, watching it the second time, it made more sense than it did the first time.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you on that one. Even the fourth time watching it, it made more sense. Like, way more sense. And one thing that made more sense to me now was not showing the other Jedi talking to her.
Yeah.
And I know that's controversial. I get it. I understand because that's what everybody wanted, and that's what I wanted. I think that's what everybody kind of was thinking, that we were going to start seeing Force Ghost of Anakin, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Ahsoka. Like we were going to see all of them there when she's like, "Be with me, be with me." But for this time around, I realized the story wasn't about that. The story wasn't about all of them. It was about Rey. It was Rey's journey, and it was about Rey's perspective on that part. And for me, I don't know, this time around I was like, that totally makes a lot more sense that you don't see them.
Yeah, that would have been great to see Force Ghost of everybody just come in. I mean, but you're right, the story is about Rey and her journey, and then also about Ben Solo and his journey back from the dark side.
Yes.
And I think people overlook that whenever they see this movie and they see the transition of him, because I think his transition from the dark side back to being Ben Solo is bigger than when Luke converted Darth Vader.
I agree. And I think with this movie, I mean, especially with this new story, that is more prominent than it was in the first movies, because I mean, all right, I'm gonna get controversial here, don't get mad at me, y'all, but if you go back to the first movies, the seed of Vader becoming a good person wasn't planted until the second movie. The seed, because there wasn't ever intended for him to be Vader. Vader was never supposed to be Luke and Leia's father.
I mean, if you ever think about it, the seed wasn't really planted till Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I mean, technically, Return of the Jedi.
Because you find out at Empire Strikes Back that Darth is Luke's father. But then at the beginning of Return of the Jedi, you hear Luke say the first time, "I sense good in him."
Yeah.
So, and I think when they started Force Awakens, even to Last Jedi and then to Rise, you see that controversy, you see that kind of tearing down the middle from the get-go.
Yeah, you see the conflict in him right away, even from the Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Even the scene where he kills his dad is, that scene of it, he says thank you. He kind of looks like, yeah, thank you, yeah, like look what I just did. But then also at the same time, he was trembling when he did that because he knew, like, oh my gosh, this was terrible. And I think that goes also to Adam Driver just being the freaking best. Like, I don't know, like that was perfect casting.
I thought Adam Driver did a fantastic job. He played the villain and the good guy at the same time.
Oh yeah,
and I thought it was great. I thought the casting of him was a great idea.
Want to go over here?
Oh, she wants to go back over.
She wants to come over here. But no, I agree 100%. But yeah, the journey of Kylo Ren and Rey were what was more important, not the fan service, if you may, of seeing all the Jedi there at the very end, because I feel like that would have taken away completely from what the movie was.
I think it would have too. I wanted this movie to be I wanted to pay homage to the saga. Yeah. But I wanted it to be something different. I wanted it to be by itself.
Yes.
I wanted it to stand out. And you see that by them doing just the voices speaking to her. And you see it paying homage to the old movies, obviously by bringing back Palpatine. Now, everything I've written, I want to say thank you to everybody who did not spoil this movie when it first came out.
Yes.
That first weekend, even that first week, everybody just kind of held back and let the fans go and watch it and then come up with their articles and conclusions. Now, I'm going to get a little controversial here because the biggest thing that I've read two big things about this movie that people don't like.
Uh-oh.
One is the return of Palpatine. They said it's probably one of the biggest plot holes in the entire movie. And then two, the shots that J.J. Abrams takes at Rian Johnson, which I don't think there's any at all. I think that's just hogwash, and just take that idea and just throw it away.
Yeah, there was no... Okay, so one of the big ones that people say, there's two of them. There's actually two main ones, which is, would you stop? Anyways, don't worry about it. She's adorable, I promise. One of the things, two things. People say the rocks floating around Rey at the beginning of the Rise of Skywalker. At the end of The Force Awakens, J.J. Abrams had told Mark Hamill, when you're standing there, when Rey comes up to you, there's going to be rocks floating around you during that scene, like you're meditating. And that was supposed to be a visual. That was what they were supposed to do for that part. But then when Rian Johnson got the script, he told him to please take that out. He goes, I don't want... He can't have rocks floating around him. And I know that, what's his name? Mark Hamill said that he didn't like that. He thought that... He was like, are these two talking to each other? Are these two even talking to each other? And what it was Rian Johnson's Luke Skywalker at the beginning of The Last Jedi was cut off from the Force. Because that was Rian Johnson's way of justifying Luke not showing up to help everyone else.
So, okay, this is my take on this. All right, for those of you that say that there's two different people that directed these movies, you're 100% correct.
Yes,
there's two different people.
Absolutely right.
But you got to understand, this saga began in 1977. You're spanning decades of fans, generations of fans. Our grandparents were children when these things came out, or young adults. Our parents were children, or not even born yet, but they came out. In this, everybody has their own vision as to how they want this saga to play out, how they want their heroes to succeed, how they want their villains to go away and die. So when you see this, and you see J.J. Abrams with Force Awakens, that's his vision of how he's rebooting the franchise and how he sees the story come to life.
Yeah.
And then you see Rian Johnson come in, and that's his vision. If J.J. Abrams didn't like Rian Johnson's vision, he would have never handed over the script.
Very true, but then again, it wasn't his choice to hire Johnson. It was Kennedy's choice. But again,
he would have made a bigger deal out of hiring Johnson.
True.
Then I didn't. Did you read anything about him, like him not liking Johnson to be hired for the second movie?
No. Everybody was pumped.
Yeah, he likes Johnson. He comes out publicly and says that he likes Johnson. He likes his work. He likes his vision. So one other thing people say is Rose. Now, Rose. I sent you a copy from an interview that they said about Rose and why she stays back.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about it.
And I think it holds true.
Okay.
But I would have liked to see her a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this time around, I was okay with her being the way she was. Which, like I said, for some reason, the movie becomes clearer the more the more you watch it.
Yeah.
And one thing David also pointed out is you already have so many characters, and we already have our 3 on an adventure.
Yeah.
And it would have been very difficult to
include her in another one.
include, yeah.
And then you're introducing a whole new character when they go to Moon outside of Endor.
Yeah, and you see, and also you forgot Zori Bliss. You introduced Zori Bliss and you introduced Jana. Like two characters who should not have worked.
Yeah,
they worked.
They did.
Like, I don't know. Like and I always say that anytime in Star Wars they introduce a new character, I'm always like, man, is this gonna be another Phasma? Is this gonna be another Boba Fett? Where we're like, oh, cool, that was a big build up, and then they're gone. Or these 2 characters actually like did a great job. But yeah, I could see that. But then another one that a lot of people had a problem with was the lightsaber being thrown and Luke catching it and saying a Jedi should, have more respect. And a lot of people were like, man, that was just a huge middle finger to Johnson. And I was like, no. I was like, and even Terrio even said in the interview, he says, no, that was Luke's journey in the Last Jedi.
Yeah, he's going full circle. He's going full circle.
And it's like, we're not making fun of the movie. We're actually saying this is what Luke did in the Last Jedi. Yeah. He tossed the lightsaber, and then at the very end of the movie, he's back, and he's in a way picking it up again and coming out and helping everybody. And that was,
he was so mad. He was so torn to what happened between him and Ben Solo.
Yeah,
when you see it in The Last Jedi when he tries to kill him because he senses the evil in him.
Yeah.
And then, Kylo Ren comes out and just destroys everything that he built. And so, that's why he didn't come and help. That's why he was, away from the Force. I don't think he was separated from the Force or away from it entirely. I think he was just exiling himself. It's kind of similar to the way Yoda did whenever he fought Palpatine at the end of Episode 3.
Okay, true. But there is they do say in The Last Jedi though that Luke is cut off from the Force. He's cut off, and so I don't know. It gets a little confusing after a while trying to figure out what Luke was doing, what he wasn't doing. My whole idea was Luke. And okay, so this is the writer in me. I'm also a writer. Don't judge. The writer in me sees The Force Awakens, reads the script because the movie The Force Awakens wasn't completed yet when Johnson started working on it. So the writer in me reads The Force Awakens, sees what happens to Han Solo, sees what happens at the very end of the movie, and thinks, okay, where is Luke at this point? Why is Luke gone? What's the purpose? And then you start to really think, okay, he's away on this planet, but why is he away on this planet? Okay, well, this happened. We explain that in The Force Awakens. We'll touch on it some more in The Last Jedi. Okay, this is pretty cool. But he still lets Han Solo die. That's the big deal. It's like, why would he allow his best friend to die? And the best explanation you can come up with is he's cut off from the Force.
That makes sense.
And so everybody's like, Rian Johnson ruined it. It was like, dude, he was given The Force Awakens. This is what he had to do with what happened.
Yeah.
And so for me, him being cut off from the Force was the best explanation for why the events of The Force Awakens happened. And for me, that makes the ending of The Last Jedi so much more powerful because he comes back not only as Luke, but he comes back as a legend, and he comes up and he stands in front of everybody. And
just
yeah,
his little scene.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people will say, well, it wasn't cinematic enough. It wasn't cinematic for him to be because he really wasn't there. And I'm like, him not being there and him appearing to be untouchable was, in my opinion, an amazing moment.
And I mean, if you think about it, he did get his meditating theme with rocks floating around him at the very end of Last Jedi.
Yeah, technically, yeah.
Technically,
I mean, he was floating above the rocks.
He was above the rocks. There was stuff floating around him. Yeah. I mean, technically that scene did come to life. But yeah, I 100% agree. It makes more sense now when you start looking at it from a writer's perspective and understand this is why it needed to happen.
Yeah.
I do think they would have done better just having J.J. Abrams do all 3 movies.
I agree.
But I am not mad about how these movies turned out.
Yeah, me neither.
I absolutely adore them. I adore Rise of Skywalker. Now I want to get into Palpatine. Okay, so Palpatine sets up all the way in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, when he's sitting in the opera talking to Anakin, and by far one of my favorite lines, "Have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?" By far my favorite line, one of my favorite lines throughout the whole saga. That story sets everything up. I think the plot hole in Palpatine returning is just how he got off the Death Star. And if you notice, from the beginning of Rise all the way until Rey gets to Exegol, you don't see his legs.
No.
All you see is just his head and a hood and then his cloak.
Ooh, okay, yeah.
You know, so he's not necessarily standing on the ground. He's connected to the machine that's moving him around. So he may not be full in terms just his torso and no lower body.
Yeah, I never thought about that because he's being held up by this giant machine is like moving him all over the place. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one thing I noticed too today was just that I was like, man, all you see is this cloak hanging down. You don't see any kind of feet dangling down below the cloak. You don't see feet touching the ground until he pulls the force of Ben and Rey's bond away from them and revives himself. But the return of Palpatine, like everybody has said, has been set up from the beginning.
And yeah, you're right. I had a problem with it. If you listen to our review that we had done, I kind of said I was a little taken aback that they didn't really explain it, but it is there. The explanation to why Palpatine is back is there because he does say, "I have died before."
Yeah,
it's there.
He says it, and then he repeats the line from the speech
the
he
dark
gave
side of the
Anakin.
Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. And then you see the lightning and you see his face. And another thing that a lot of people aren't realizing is the Palpatine that we see at the beginning of the Force, of the Rise of Skywalker, is not the Palpatine we saw at the end of Return of the Jedi.
No.
Because for one, his face, he doesn't have the scars on his face.
No.
That's number one. Number two, he's blind. He doesn't have his eyes anymore. So for me, it feels like Palpatine himself made, I want to say a clone, but he found a way through the dark side to create kind of this plan B, his backup plan, if you may.
I don't. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe he kind of created something, and then when he died the first time, his spirit transferred over to something. But I honestly think it goes back to his story to Anakin, where he figured out how to manipulate the Force to come back to life. Now, the only question I have is how he got off the Death Star. But that's the only thing I'm wondering, because did he kind of fade away like all the other Jedis have done when they pass on and just reappear on Exegol to get bandaged up and set up again? Or, did he create a clone that he transferred his spirit into? Because
they do say in the movie, clones and dark magic and the dark side, that's like Sith stuff. That's what they do. And so
I think they're referencing
the army and
the
everything.
Army. Well, not the army. I think they're referencing what's his name? I mean, they made him so obsolete. I can't remember his name. I think they're referencing Snoke.
Well, yeah, but I think because of that, Palpatine, like I said, Palpatine is different at the beginning of this movie, and we still need the explanation as to why. Like you said, he figured it out, but I think he figured out something to where, because he says I fell before, like I've died before, like he was there for all that.
Yeah.
So something between that and then he must have had something. He must have been able to use the Force to put himself somewhere else to where he was able to then just carry on. But I think he was so weak in the Force, and so not weak in the Force, but weak in where he went, that he couldn't physically come back. So he creates Snoke to be the one to carry on for him. So he
creates Snoke, and this is where it gets kind of confusing. And I know everybody has said this, like, how do you create a clone in Snoke, send him out to lead the First Order, but make him such a strong Force user that he rivals your power? I mean, you see the way he handles Kylo Ren and Rey in Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, and how he's easy just to, by the wave of his hand, they go flying across the room. This reminiscent to his power, and you see his power even in Rise when you see Ben and Rey standing in front of him with the lightsabers, and he just pushes his hand out, and next thing you know, everything drops.
Yeah, which is a funny thing because they come up, they stand in front of him, and they're ready to go, and then he just goes poof. And it's like,
so I don't really buy that he wasn't strong enough. I think he was strong enough if he was able to put his power into a clone in Snoke, and then also connect Ben and Rey together in Last Jedi.
Okay, so here's another thing I think is why he was quote unquote like not there while he had Snoke, because I think he needed both of them
to find each other.
One, and then two, he needed her to become more powerful, which is what she does, what she did. And I don't think he anticipated. I don't think he anticipated the two of their bond together, because even he's shocked by their bond together, and I don't think he anticipated how incredibly strong she was in the Force.
So, again, like, I am not blown away by Palpatine's return. I think his return was set up from Episode 3, from the speech he gave Anakin, and then if you listen to what he's saying in the first part of Rise, everything just kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. What I don't like about that plot, though, is Rey's dad. That, to me, is probably the biggest plot hole.
Who the dad was.
Yeah, because there's no mention of Palpatine ever having a family, let alone a son.
Well, okay, so the counter-argument to that, and even David will say, the counter-argument to that is, maybe he didn't even have a family. Maybe it wasn't a family. Maybe he wasn't even married. Maybe he thought, I need to, quote unquote, spread, my seed and let it see what I can create with the Force and with everything like that. And that's kind of the counter argument to that, is the reason we don't know about it was because it was something he did to try and create, like, to live forever, if you may. But he wasn't anticipating, I don't know, the goodness of his son and his,
Yeah, I can see that. But again, there is just nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing
that supports him having a family, a son, a granddaughter for that matter. But it's something they had to do. Oh yeah, because you couldn't make him a long lost sister of Ben Solo, or you couldn't think, oh well, maybe Anakin had another child, or something. There's no way. There's no other way that they could have explained it. And I told you from the beginning, her lineage was going to be super important in this movie, and it was. And you got that from the get-go. Whenever they go to find the dagger, and they ask her what her last name is, and she's like, "I don't have one. It's just Rey." Then you already knew from that point. Okay, who she is going to be super important.
I agree. But like I said, I also agree that the granddaughter aspect, as necessary as it was, kind of just comes out of nowhere. It just kind of goes like, oh, okay, this is what's going to happen, and they call her Empress Palpatine, which I was like, what is going on?
So, but if you also think about it, it also sets up for the future of Lucasfilm. Like, they can also play off of that. They can make a backstory of Rey's parents and how they came to be. They might answer those questions. We don't know.
A good opportunity for Rey's parents is the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
I think that's an idea that may actually come to, like, the next season is.
If not season 2, I think they still need to divulge who the gunslinger is in season 2.
Obviously, yeah.
But I think they might hint that maybe for season 3, because the way the Mandalorian is, like, it's set up to go on until the beginning, at least 3 or 4 seasons.
And and plus, I mean, it's hard to see him. He's there in the battle at. Okay, it might not be him, mind you, but the Razor Crest is there during the battle at the very end of the Rise of Skywalker, so they could go all the way to that, which would be amazing. And so that aspect of the son and the daughter having the grandchild Rey, that could be in a season of The Mandalorian.
Yeah. So I can tell you what I did not like. One of the things I didn't like, and a lot of people liked it. Me personally, I could have done without it.
Are you gonna say the kiss?
No.
Okay, never mind.
No, I mean, the love story between Ben and Rey had been there since the first movie, and I'm glad they kind of closed that door and just say, okay, they kissed, now he's dead. I did not like Leia using the Force.
Why not?
This is controversy. Controversy. Look, there is nothing that says she is a Force user. She has always been Force sensitive, and she only became Force sensitive when Luke came into the picture, in New Hope. And then you really didn't see it until Empire Strikes Back.
But the new canon does say that she does have Force. She is Force sensitive. The new canon does say that. But we don't have it in the movie.
Finn is Force sensitive in this movie, for Christ's sake. I mean, look, I understand she's Force sensitive. Great. She can feel it. She knows what's going on.
But her being a
Jedi, having a lightsaber, being trained by Luke, that was a little much.
But that all goes back to what was originally planned for the Rise of Skywalker. For me, I think that we talked about in our episode, I think what the original plan for her was always going to be Yoda's line in The Empire Strikes Back, which was, "No, there is another." We were supposed to get that. We were always supposed to get that with the Rise of Skywalker, and we never got it. So yeah, it does kind of come out of left field if you're not like, not saying you're familiar, but if you're not, I don't know. It does come out of left field.
It comes out of left field, and my thing is, now that I watched it again, you can tell the footage they used of Carrie Fisher was pre-recorded, because it was kind of like, okay, we have these certain lines, we're going to build the script around what she says, just so, because it looks better and it makes more sense. Honestly, I think they would have been better off letting her go in Last Jedi.
Yeah, but it was such a controversy because she had completed the movie. They had the footage, and it was
I think it would have opened up a whole new level of creativity for this movie, only because, how would Rey have been trained? Obi-Wan Kenobi went back to Tatooine after Episode 3 and reconnected with Qui-Gon and continued his training.
Yes.
So who's to say that Rey can't continue her training with Luke Skywalker as a Force Ghost?
That's true. That's true. They could have done that.
That to me, that would have made more sense, I think. But having Leia in the movie also showed Poe kind of coming into his own of leading the Resistance to the fight. I think but you also saw that towards the end of Last Jedi, where he was like, okay, I get it now. I have to lead, alongside you, not in front of you. So I think, to me, that's the one criticism I have of this movie, was Leia, the flashback of Leia and Luke with the lightsabers, because to me it doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't know why they just can't have her be force sensitive. Yes, cool, be force sensitive. But she never used a lightsaber.
But for me, that all goes back. That all goes back to The Empire Strikes Back.
Yes, I know.
It all went back to there, and it was like this idea they all had for the Star Wars with Leia, and it's just we never got to see that.
It opens up a whole new avenue of stuff for Lucasfilm, where they can possibly make a series for Leia in her training and adventures that her and Luke went on. I mean, how many actors are out there in the world that look young and similar to Carrie Fisher or Mark Hamill, or with the technology that Lucasfilm and Disney have, they can make Mark Hamill look younger.
Yeah. Well, we saw The Irishman. What they did with The Irishman.
Yeah, but they didn't tweak him too much. I mean, they still look kind of old in The Irishman. But
so you would have been perfectly fine if Leia was not in The Rise of Skywalker.
I would have been okay with it. I would have been perfectly fine. They would have changed the story a little bit, still the same outcome, but when Ben, shoots the command deck in The Last Jedi, I would have been okay with her just kind of, floating off and like kind of disappearing from there. I would have been okay with it. And then she may come back as a Force Ghost. Who knows? But I think I understand they wanted to pay homage to Carrie Fisher. I would have too. I think it would have been better off not having her in this movie.
What do y'all think? Tell us what you think.
Yeah, for real. Tell us what you think, because I'm going off the handles here. The only other thing that I would have liked to see, honestly, is at the very end when she kills Palpatine and she's throwing the lightning back at him. When she brings up that second saber, if it would have been green,
I could see how that would have been cool. But I love the idea that it was the Anakin Skywalker lightsaber. Like, for me, that just made that part so much cooler.
That would have been that was great in itself, but they don't explain what happened to the green lightsaber.
They never. I mean, we will get the explanation in some book, and who knows? Maybe Luke did what Rey did. Maybe he threw it in the water after he threw his X-wing. And I think that's what they're going to do. I think because she gets to Ahch-To, she burns the TIE fighter, and she's going to burn the lightsaber. I think Luke got to Ahch-To, sunk the X-wing, and grabbed his lightsaber, just tossed it into the water, and was like, that's
so the X-wing should not have worked
I will say that the X-wing was, and because the X-wing was actually a part of some of the Last Jedi, like hardcore fans were like, well, he couldn't have gone because the X-wing doesn't work.
Yeah,
and the Rise of Skywalker's like, it works.
It works. I mean, just like that, you know. And then Ben Solo leaving the moon off of Endor in an old school TIE fighter. If you didn't catch that, it is not one of the new TIE fighters that they have.
Yep.
This was an old school straight wing TIE fighter.
But who he used the Force.
He used the Force.
Look,
we saw Force abilities in this movie that made Ben Solo and made Rey Skywalker look like gods.
You know what? I'm okay with that, man.
And so am I. I don't understand why people... I'm okay with that, too. I mean, they're supposed to be the most powerful people in the universe.
And, like, everybody was like, oh, now they can heal? What's up with that? I'm like... And one thing I told somebody, I was like, okay, A New Hope to Empire Strikes Back, Luke calls the lightsaber to him. Mm-hmm. Everyone's okay. Nobody freaked out about that. And A New Hope to Empire, Luke is able to talk to Leia, and she's able to hear him, mm-hmm. and they turn the ship around. Nobody had a problem with that. Luke is able to jump really far, and on Jabba's little boat there, not a boat, but nobody had a problem with that. What I'm saying is, the Force in every movie evolves. The Force in every movie is different.
And Palpatine from the beginning was the strongest Force user we saw. And then Anakin comes in and he just destroyed everything he touched. Mm-hmm. Nobody had an issue with it. And I don't have an issue with them being this powerful.
Yeah.
Within this short amount of time. I mean, especially Kylo Ren or Ben Solo. I mean, because he's been training for a while, but mm-hmm. Rey just picking up those abilities.
Well, I mean, but the explanation now was
she trained with Leia.
She trained with Leia into the blood, the power of Palpatine was there with her, you know. So I mean, that was an explanation that got taken care of immediately when they said you're Palpatine. I was like, oh, well, that all those fanboys who were like, man, she's a Mary Sue, are gonna be like, that was just an easy fix. I was like, man, Star Wars is full of easy fixes.
They honestly they killed the announcement of her lineage whenever they showed her using the Force lightning. As soon as she used the Force lightning, in my head I was like, Palpatine's granddaughter. Done.
When she used the Force lightning, the first thing I thought it was, okay, she's somehow related to Palpatine.
Yeah.
But I didn't think granddaughter. I was just like, somehow Palpatine's power is in her.
You know.
But here's how I said, like, Star Wars is all about kind of fixing itself, fixing plot holes. The best plot hole fix I've ever seen in a movie is still Return of the Jedi, with Obi-Wan saying, so what I told you was true from a certain point of view. It's like, dude. It's like, that's like.
So I'm glad you say that, because I think this movie also completes the prophecy.
Yeah.
The Skywalker brings balance to the Force. They don't necessarily say how.
But Anakin does say, bring balance to the Force like I did.
But did he really, if Palpatine survived?
Well, true.
I mean, he may have suppressed Palpatine for a little bit, but did he really complete the prophecy if Palpatine survived? Because to me, a Skywalker is going to bring balance to the Force. To me, that's the last shot of Ben Solo Force healing Rey, giving his own life to bring her back. Mm-hmm. Because she brought balance to the Force.
Okay.
And she takes the Skywalker name at the very end of the movie, and I think that kind of just brings it full circle.
That's a big controversy, though.
It's a huge controversy, but you know what? I poke bears.
But then that's the thing, though, with Star Wars, is that you're always going to have discussions. There's always going to be discussions about what's going on, what's happening. I mean, people are still discussing stuff that happened in the Clone Wars after, it's all said and done. Yeah. So like people are still going deep into Star Wars, which is, I guess, that's what makes it a lot of fun.
I mean, that's what made this franchise span, decades.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's everybody, and that's what I've told you numerous times. The amount of information that you can get from this saga or this franchise. The universe of Star Wars in general. Mm-hmm. We see something like Clone Wars come in, 6 seasons worth. We're getting a 7th in February. Mm-hmm. That's a long story. We see Rebels come out. You have all these animated shorts that have come out. Mm-hmm. You have Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I think we're going to start seeing more shorts. Obi-Wan's going to have his own short,
yes.
Or it's his own series, which I think he deserves a movie. That's just me. who's to say that they're not going to do more? The last part with Lando and Janna. Let's find out who you are.
Yeah.
To me, that sets up a whole new story.
And you know what? With the way Dave Filoni is doing with the animation, I'm okay if they do it with that. Like if they bring Billy D. Williams in and Naomi Aki to have an adventure for all themselves, that would be the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
I think Lucasfilm has the power, and like you said, that's what makes Star Wars so great, is that it can span generations and generations, and it's not going to stop. We're still going to be here talking about Star Wars until we're old, because Star Wars is just going to keep going.
It's just one of the things that's going to last forever, and Star Wars is what you make it.
True,
what I mean?
Very true.
You can interpret this story any way you want. It's the universe that you see it, and then you can finish it out in your own head. It's what you make it to be. I love what they did with this new trilogy. I love what they did with Rise of Skywalker. I think it brought us a great end to the saga. I think it just brought everything full circle. It kind of closed it. Yes, we have questions, but there's not one person in the world that watches a movie and doesn't have a question.
Agreed. And I agree. And I think that's what, like you said, that's what's going to keep Star Wars going, is that we're always going to have these questions, and that we're always going to be having these theories, and that's just what makes it live on forever.
That's what makes it great. Man. God, I love having these conversations.
Yeah, me too. Well, hey, thank y'all so much for watching this video. This is just a fun little YouTube video. Oh, before we go, sorry. We did ask our patrons, if what they thought about the Rise of Skywalker. And so here we go. And if you want to join our Patreon, I'm going to put the link there down below. We ask questions, we read them, we post new content, bonus stuff like book reviews, just extra segments. And so yeah, if you want to sign up for that, please.
And remember to press that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this video with your friends, because if you have nerds like we are, I mean, come on, you got to watch it.
So Chris Simpson says, for the Rise of Skywalker, quick spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen it. Okay, thank you. Though it was awesome, but some things could have changed or not been there. Kind of wish Rey and Kylo didn't kiss at the end, and that he didn't die. They could have shown them training new Jedi. That would have been cool. Also, that Finn started to train with the Force. Cool things like that. But to be honest, the film was still amazing. Seen it 3 times, and it blows my mind every time. I have seen pictures, though. Someone did a drawing of Finn training with Rey, and I was like, it's cool. I mean,
that's a little far-fetched for me. I mean,
but then that would come full circle with Luke training Rey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean Luke training Leia.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I don't know.
So Dylan,
Look, the love triangles in this movie is out the door. You see chemistry between Rey and Poe. Obviously, you see chemistry with Finn and Rey, because Finn's like that guy who's in the friend zone, wants to get out, but Rey's like, nah. I kind of like the bad boy in Kylo.
I never saw the love interest between Finn and Rey.
Are you kidding me?
I always saw the friendship.
You don't hear when every time he runs out and screams, Rey!
That was a good impression. That was a really great impression.
You don't hear the pain.
I just see a good friend.
I have something to tell you.
I just see a good friend. That's all I see. I've never seen the Finn and Rey thing. Okay, so Dylan Q says, Dylan Q, thank you for writing the longest review. I thought this movie was imperfectly perfect. That's
good,
awesome.
Good
and had the right energy to be the final movie in a beautifully chaotic saga that is the Skywalker saga. I really felt the spirit of every previous episode in this movie. I loved how fast-paced it was. Literally couldn't process the movie after one viewing. Very true. My sisters and I sat motionless and couldn't speak for 5 minutes as the lights went up, which was a magical experience. We have been on this journey together. Began and ended it together. We wore a t-shirt from each trilogy. One wore Revenge of the Sith, and one wore A New Hope, and another The Rise of Skywalker. That's really cool. I really love the connection thread with Leia and the Skywalker family through this film. I loved that it explored her as a Jedi, and how she had to forgo the path, and then ultimately she ends up being that Jedi she was always supposed to be by connecting to Ben, Kylo, and saving him. I loved Palpatine saying "good" and "do it," but also his "I am all the Sith" to Rey's "I am all the Jedi." So many scenes I would love to list here. Ben and Rey's kiss. I love the humor. Shout out to C-3PO. And I love the emotions, and I love the visuals and the acting and the prequel style lightsaber battle and the score. Very true. Thank you, John Williams, for 42 years worth. I loved how the Sith acolytes in the arena on Exegol sounded like they were chanting the beginning of Duel of the Fates. Yeah, I caught that this time. Yeah. This 4th time I caught that. I was like, oh. And most of all, I love that it was celebrated being a Star Wars fan. The only thing I wish is for more roast Tico, but I get it that it was a movie and it had so much to do. And I also loved every moment she got. It's not always about how long you're on. It's what you do in this time. Also loved her mini Leia buns. Yeah, she did have a little of the Leia buns. I hope it's not the last we see of her. Give me a Disney Plus show. Anyway, to finish up, I will always go into a film with no expectations, and this one was the same. When you do that, you always come out having been on an adventure. I've seen it 3 times, again, another 3-timer, and plan on many more. It's a flawed movie, but that's half its charm. The media might want to bring it down, but Star Wars is very much alive, and I look damn forward to its bright and interesting future. It's only just getting warmed up. And he says, sorry for this essay. I wrote this when I was half asleep. But you know what? That's actually one of the most honest reviews I've ever read about The Rise of Skywalker, Dylan, because you kind of did what we did, but you actually articulated a lot better. Because I guess writing, it's easier to articulate.
Because you can take your time.
Yeah. But yeah, because you praised the film, you said what you didn't like, but you also were able to accept it all as Star Wars, and you're able to back up what you said. And so that was a great review, Dylan. I appreciate you sending us that.
And it was fantastic, and I love hearing the different point of views. You know, even if we disagree on certain things, it's still a great point of view, because it's not about what other people think. It's about how the movie affected you.
Very true.
You know, and how you view the heroes, and you view the villains, and how you view the characters in this storyline. You know, my opinion, I might be the only person on the island of, you know, Leia shouldn't have been in the movie, or being trained by Luke. But that's okay. That's just my opinion. You know,
very true.
He hates me for it. I can see it. I can feel it looking at me, stare.
But yes, thank y'all very much for those reviews. If you, like I said, if you want to join our Patreon, and you know, you can actually write to us, and we have like a nice little back and forth with people on our Patreon. I have the link there down below, and like he said, subscribe and spread the word around.
Hit that like button,
hit that like button, please. And thank you so much for watching, and may the Force be with you always.
It's a trap!